again, it's Kyle Hanan. I'm the person that's completed the most chemotherapy and still survived. I'm also the biggest Jesus freak. Hallelujah, Jesus is Lord. And I'm also the man who's made the most mistakes in life and still survived. But it doesn't matter where you've been, it matters where you're going. So we're going to focus on right now and what's ahead. Today's the best day ever, tomorrow's going to be even better. We're driving to chemotherapy number 221 or something. We're starting a new chemo today. See what this does to me. It's about a 45-minute drive. So far this year, we made this drive probably on average twice a week. We go more or less depending on what's going on with me, what the treatment plan is, and how I'm feeling, whatever pops up. When I go in, if I'm not doing chemo, I go in for labs or something specific to issues that I might be having. I'm under care at the bone marrow transplant unit of Virginia Piper Cancer Center in Scottsdale, Arizona, Honor Health Hospital. And I go to an inpatient clinic. It's on the 3rd floor of the Virginia Piper Cancer Center. I've been there under care there for about 4 years. Previously, before that, I was mainly at Mayo for 3 years. And what is a bone marrow transplant? I didn't know what the heck any of this stuff was. I didn't know what chemotherapy was before I got diagnosed 7 years. I hardly paid attention or really researched. I didn't really know anybody that had been through a real aggressive cancer battle other than my grandfather and my dad, but I wasn't really around for any of those treatments or whatever they went through. And bone marrow transplant is essentially where they wipe out your immune system with a tremendous amount of chemotherapy, so much that it would kill you if you didn't have your bone marrow or your stem cells rejuvenated. So I've done 3 transplants. One was unofficially done, where my immune system was wiped out for a couple weeks, and we just kind of grew my stem cells and my bone marrow within myself. It was depleted some, which made it difficult to do my second transplant to collect the stem cells within my body. The second transplant was an auto stem cell, an auto bone marrow transplant, where we took out my stem cells, we extracted them in the apheresis unit, and it was in this big machine that took out my blood and extracted my stem cells from my blood. And then it put my blood back into my body, and we collected those stem cells. And after I did a huge, that was the most chemo I've ever done, and I think it's the most chemo that is given in transplants. It's the highest. They have different setups that they do before. That's not all transplants are the same. So depending on what kind of, usually it's a blood cancer you do a bone marrow transplant for, they will use a different selection of chemotherapy drugs depending on your cancer, and there's a lot of variables that go into it, and what kind of transplant you're doing and how much cancer you have and all that sort of thing. So the second one I did was my own stem cells, but we did a very strong chemotherapy. And honestly, it was enough to kill an elephant. And it just about took me out. It was horrible. I went through all sorts of stuff in there, including having seizures and just the vomiting, nonstop diarrhea, just all the mouth sores that went all the way from my mouth down to my rear. The chemo was it was the extreme of all side effects doing chemo, and it just about kills you. And then they re-inject you with your stem cells because your bone marrow has essentially been wiped out, and it helps you grow that bone marrow back into your blood, and it helps. That chemo that you did is done that heavy, so we make sure to try to get every little bit of of cancer out before you do the transplant. You try to have it so that you are in remission, so that you're going into it cancer-free. But with blood cancers, and if you're going to refractory relapsed is what it's called, mode, where you've relapsed cancer, you can't get rid of the cancer in the frontline therapy. You go to bone marrow transplant. So they hit you with a sledgehammer of chemo that gets out any little hidden, that's hard to detect, because the cancer tends to, I have a blood cancer, so the cancer will hide out in tiny blood cells. Mine is lymphoma, so the cancer collects on the lymph nodes, and it gets through that, it gets into the bloodstream. So when we hit it with a sledgehammer chemo, then we put the stem cells back into the body. That's what saves our lives, so that we can survive that tremendous amount of chemotherapy. And for that second one, I was in the hospital 4 weeks or so, about a month. And then I did a third bone marrow transplant that was a allo transplant, where I had a donor. It was a 19-year-old guy from Poland. We don't know who he is. It's just still incredible to me that somebody would donate. It used to be a much more difficult process to donate your own stem cells for bone marrow transplant, but it's so badly needed. I've known people who've died because they couldn't find a good match, a good donor. So my match was a non-related match, and it was I believe it was an 8 out of 10 match, which was good enough to get the job done for me. I'm eternally grateful for them. If you want to become a donor, they're needed again. You can go to bethematch.org, I believe it is. And you just Google it, and you sign up, and they send you a little kit, and from what I hear, it's just a swab, and they put you into the system so that they can see if you're a match for somebody else. I know right now, especially if you're Latino or Samoan, they really need people to sign up for that. And you have the option to do it or not if you want to go in, if it works in your schedule. And the process of basically giving your stem cells is now much easier than it was before. Usually they're able to just hook you up intravenously in your arm, and they extract and they put your blood back into your body, and you might be a little tired for a day or two, might be a little sore where the transplant took place, but you're saving somebody's life. My life was saved because of it. I'm still alive. My last transplant, the allo transplant with the donor, was a little over 2 years ago. So we're headed there now, and I'm under care of bone marrow transplant because I'm very grateful that I'm still there, because you get really good care. I believe I have the best care in the world right now. The love, it's like the love there is incredible. It's like my family. They are family to me. My doctor is like my sister. She's just an incredible woman, all around, incredibly smart, works together. They all work together with me and support me, and I'm under care of bone marrow transplant still, because we get complications, and there's high risks from the transplant I did. Where I am now with all the chemotherapy and treatments I've done, it's not common to survive it. My stage right now is a have no stage. I'm considered terminal. There's no cure, but we're all terminal. No one knows their time. It's all in the Lord's hands. It's out of our control. So what we control what we can control, and what we can't control, we don't worry about it. We just keep a positive attitude. We move forward. I'm real grateful that I get to do this battle and learn as I go. I'm grateful for those such as my grandpa, or so many that I've known. My best friend's dad, Ron Peterson. My dad went through a battle with cancer. But I'm so grateful to everybody that's sacrificed, or knows somebody that's sacrificed, because that just, to me, the most valuable thing in fighting cancer is all the data that's been out there. It's not necessarily the research or the trials. We're grateful for those too, but it's the data of patients that really lived it and really battled it, so that we can learn what works and what doesn't. And that's what's a huge thing that's kept me alive. But I was saying I'm under care, bone marrow transplant still because of those risks. There's risks that in the allo transplant that my new immune system will attack my body. It's called graft versus host. So if different areas of my body, my organs get over revved, it's kind of what happens. We need to get those under control, and we do that by usually using immunosuppressant drugs or steroids, and that calms that over revving down. If we let it go, for example, the skin is a common one that gets attacked. Many have lost their lives to GVH, graft versus host, attacking their skin after an allo transplant, and it's a terrible thing that you go through where you get third-degree burns from the inside of your skin. Sometimes it can attack your liver or your kidneys. So these risks, and because I still have cancer activity, make it suitable for me to be under care, specialized care in bone marrow transplant. And we have explored the possibility of doing a fourth transplant. We're in a land where nobody really has been before, so we're just kind of, there's no book on how to treat me. We're just working together as a team and trusting the Lord as the lead doctor in the whole thing. I love this drive. Every time I make it, going to the chemo, it's been some rough drives. I had some rough drives there. Just 2 weeks ago, we got into big trouble. We had a close call where we had to drive. I was driven to the hospital and almost had to call an ambulance. It was hard for me to walk, and it's a pretty rough drive with me hugging the puke bucket. And this drive is a great one. I usually turn on music and pump myself up. I listen to a lot of Christian worship music, or sometimes I freestyle rap in the car, where I might just kind of talk along and talk myself up to it. I believe in the power of words, just to reinforce what's in your mind, to just keep positive thoughts, to keep rolling. Everybody's heard positive cancer patient. Sometimes you gotta let it out too. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. Sorrow is better than laughter, it says in the Bible. Tears can be so healing. But also, we're just gonna express joy. Why not? If you got the choice and you can do it in the moment, you might as well express joy and be content. I feel so content driving to the chemo. I have to get myself into a certain place before I do these chemos. I really go into a focus mode. I usually start it 2 days before. I have a whole plan that includes eating and exercise. I always plan things out. Sometimes it changes depending on how I've been feeling or what the particular chemo is going to be or what time of the day it is. Like today's is at noon, so I had a whole plan today. Lately, last few months, I did a really tough chemo, so I had to spend a lot of time resting. And I have to sleep. If I sleep around 11 hours, that's usually good. If I get less than that, it feels like my immune system starts to decrease really quickly, and I become very sick very, very fast. It's kind of like before cancer, if I would have stayed up for 3 days straight. So it sounds like it's sometimes like, oh man, it must be nice to sleep for 11 hours. But actually it's hard work sometimes, because you got to make yourself go to sleep when you don't really want to go. So I've learned to do that in chunks and to take a lot of naps. I've trained myself so that I can get into sleep pretty quickly and out of sleep at the right time, so I'm not left too foggy. So I can try to I keep track of my sleep, so I try to keep track of my REM sleep and make sure that I'm getting good quality sleep. And of course, you get better quality sleep if you keep on top of an appropriate exercise regimen and diet. Probably around 8,000 to 10,000 or more milligrams of Himalayan pink sea salt and sodium into my body. Helps my electrolytes stay imbalanced. Otherwise, I will cramp up very easily. I can get weak. I'll I'll start to show, I can go on another thing about dehydration, but it's very difficult to get dehydrated, but I start moving that direction. And when you go into the hospital and you're infused, when you're running low electrolytes, so they say you're dehydrated and you're not feeling well, they pump you with sodium chloride water. So you're essentially doing what the hospital already recommends. So I really try to stay on top of drinking a lot before I do a chemo. I start the day before, and I'll try to get in 1.5 gallons of this in me. And in between regular, I usually put a little lemon into all my water. Also on these drives, I do a lot of worshiping. I think I said I'm a Jesus freak, and I respect all beliefs, freedom to believe in anything. This is what I do. I spend a lot of time in prayer and worship and reading the Bible each day. And so I'm gonna get into some worship right now. It really helps me focus, gets me pumped up. Sometimes I throw in other worship music. Just did the shuffle on my playlist, and this is what came up. Yes, let's go. So amazing. Before we spoke a word, he's singing over us. You have been so good to me. Yes, he has. Yes. You have been so kind to me. Protect them at school, keep us away from viruses and bacteria. Let us make good choices. Let us not be influenced away from God by others, but influence others toward God. Let our influences be good. Let us make good choices. Get our minds right, focus on good things. Feeling amazing, I feel so good. Feel awesome. Yes, thank you, Lord. Never felt better. It's the best day ever. Tomorrow's going to be even better. Can't wait for this day. Every second is going to get better and better. What else we got here? I haven't heard that in a while. Give it with everything. Yes, Lord. With everything we give our heart and soul. This day, it's a roll call. We take roll. I'm gonna flow. My love for others, I love people so much, Lord. Take the anger away, let me focus on the love for the person, because Satan attacks. He attacks through them to get at us. We don't need none of that. On this day, we're going to step forward. They said there's post-traumatic stress disorder. Yeah, there's post-traumatic stress. There's stress all around, but take out that disorder. We're going to call PTSG. PTS growth. Post-traumatic stress growth. Whatever we go through, we're going to come out the other side stronger, better. It's going to happen. Believe that. No matter matter what. Every hour, sing Jesus our God. Great and mighty too. Look at these mountains, they're so beautiful. Man, it's so pretty. Love these mountains. Yeah. Even the Most High praise. God can even move mountains, the biggest mountain in your life, whatever obstacle you're facing. Yeah. Every hour sing Jesus my God. It's not a coincidence that I've survived the most chemotherapies of all time and I'm still alive, and I'm also crazy for Jesus. It's the real deal. This is the truth. He's the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through Jesus. Jesus is God. Wherever you are, wherever you doubt, go in recklessly. Don't give it another thought. Believe, surrender, and obey. Learn His Word, store it up in your heart non-stop. Store up His Word in the bad times, so in the good times you got that Word ready to roll. God is nearest to the brokenhearted. Can't be stopped. We're going to move forward no matter what. Forward, forward. Woo! Yes, hallelujah. Stuck in hopelessness. Time moves so slow. Step out of it into hope. Ask Jesus for help. He'll receive it. Time will move forward when we're in hope. Stay in hope. We're in hope right now, and the hope so deep. You connect with the Holy Spirit. You connect with the Word of God. The Word became flesh and made its dwelling place among us. Jesus is the Word, is the Holy Spirit, is the Father. It's all true. It's all so real, more than you know. Whatever you believe, if you don't believe, I got crazy respect for you. Much love and appreciation. I'm so grateful. You gotta love people. Here we go. Get off on cactus. Feel so often, everybody, all the people praying for me, praying for my boys. We're so grateful for it. Without it, I know I wouldn't be alive. All the encouraging words that I get, every one of them means so much. I replay it in my head over and over, read them again and again, listen to them again and again. Naomi, my sister, oh, she's so awesome. Next door neighbor as well. That's an amazing story. She'll call me up and just sing to me. She'll leave voicemails filled with hope, filled with encouraging words, filled with songs of praise for our Lord. I'm so grateful for that. With everything, yeah. I'm in a good spot right now, good focus. It's not always like this, it's not always easy. You gotta be real. There's been tears, there's been anger, there's been closed mouths when I should have been speaking. There's been laziness. There's been a lot of hard work. There's been a lot of hope. There's been a lot of growth. Growth isn't always easy. Growth hurts sometimes. Yeah. I'm very careful who I keep around me, especially when I go to chemos or I'm in chemo. And there's some amazing people I know I love so much, the best people ever. But I have to have a certain person around me. I have to have a person that understands what kind of frame of mind I gotta stay in. And to have somebody around me that understands that is a huge gift. And it helps me stay focused on what I gotta be focused on for these chemos. I couldn't do this alone. I needed God every step of the way. He's there, man. He's always there. And I couldn't have done it without prayer, and I couldn't have done it without the love of people. everyone out of my family. I couldn't do without them. Bone marrow transplant for Jenny Piper. They've done so much for me. They know me inside and out. A lot of them are like my real sisters. They can just look at me. They can just walk into the room on the other side of the room and they know. They're like, Kyle, you've been screwing up. What have you been doing? I'm like, oh shoot, Kyle, don't do that. I'm like, oh no. And I need that. I need people to kick my ass sometimes to humble me. God, take my pride away. Let me be humble. I love that character trait of humble. Love the character, work on our character. Paul writes a lot about character. Character is what we're doing when nobody's watching. Character is what we do when we're in the darkness. When hope isn't there, we can't find hope. What is our character? What do we do? What's our choices? We learn from our past mistakes. Do we dwell on our past mistakes? Do we keep playing what we shouldn't over and over in the head? That thing that somebody did to you, that loss, that thing that you're struggling against, you keep it in your head over and over. I've been guilty of that all the time. What do we do to get out of that? Nothing's better than getting up, speaking good, praising God. God is nearest to the brokenhearted. Nothing's better than getting out there and loving somebody else and helping somebody. There's so many opportunities to get out there and just help somebody. Give somebody who needs something a penny. Give them some food. Go visit people in jail. Go visit people in the pediatric cancer center. There's many opportunities to volunteer in every hospital to read to patients. There's nothing. So many need that kind of care, that kind of love. People that never get out of their house. I've been around that a lot lately. They never leave their house. They're not able to. They haven't seen the sun even. They can't move. They're trapped in there due to fear or due to some kind of disability or because they're just too sick. That just need it so bad, that are just craving. People that I get to visit, it's such a gift to go into where I was before in these isolated rooms where people are dying, people are screaming because they're in so much pain and bone marrow transplant isolation. And to go in there and to be able to connect with somebody, it's as much for you as it is for them. So if you're feeling trapped, if you're feeling depressed, you're feeling anxious, choose not to feel that. Get up and move. Get out there and love somebody, love people. Let people love you. Love is good. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not boast. Does not keep records of wrongs. All right, we're getting into the parking lot here.